Welcome to Moments with Marianne. Allow me to interrupt your train of thought with something that may be one of the most interesting things you hear today. This is Marianne Pastana, and our special guest today is Ken Foster, and he's here to share with us the courage to change everything, daily strategies, and essential wisdom to awaken your inner genius. Now, many of you know Ken, and gosh, I consider him to be a personal inspiration as well. He's a keynote speaker, business strategist, best-selling author, and the host of Voices of Courage, which is a radio show syndicated in more than 162 countries. Ken is a highly noted change maker who pushes the envelope and challenges you to think differently, to see the unseeable, know the unknowable, and do the impossible. So let's welcome to the show, Ken Foster.
Marianne, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really looking forward to this interview and sharing with your guests some of the strategies that's not only helped me, but helped the thousands of coaching clients over the years to really generate more courage, more success, more wisdom, and more wealth in their lives.
Well, who wouldn't want that? My goodness. I mean, you've said so much here that I want to unpack, but before we get too far down the road, I've got to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
I often ask myself that question, especially when I was about 6 years into writing that book. I've written 7 books. This is my 7th one. And what motivated me was watching coaching clients over the years come into my practice, make commitments with all intention to have those commitments completed. And then time and time again, 3 or 4 days out from our session, life happens to everybody, of course, and what happened to them. And all of a sudden they'd be in these stop-start patterns. They'd make commitments, they'd stop, they'd start again. Next time they talk to me, they'd do the same thing over and over again. I thought to myself, what if I could generate and give to them the wisdom of the ages from not only me, but from all the success gurus around the world, the real wisdom that people, that when we program our minds with it, that really stops and breaks the stop-start patterns. So that's what I did. And I put it together in a format that anybody can read 10 minutes a day. So it's not this giant book we have to do. My book's all about realizations in your own life and transforming yourself and evolving yourself in your business to levels that few can attain, but many will do if they reprogram their thinking on a consistent basis.
Well, that is just so important, especially now because there's so many people making just these dramatic changes in their life or having dramatic change happen to them. So it's kind of the perfect time to look at what we've got going on and go, gosh, okay, these are the things I need to change to be more successful.
A lot of people are going through transformation. I see it all around me. I have clients coming to me all the time, every single day, almost new clients coming in that are going through challenges they've never been through before. It's kind of an interesting point in time in our history. I don't think overall looking at the energy, the vibration, the power that is on the planet right now, it seems it's pretty unstable for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And things are happening that, what do I want to say? Really haven't happened to people before. Some people are losing losing or have lost their homes. Some people have lost their income. Some people have lost loved ones. The pandemic had us all look at, who am I? What am I about? What do I believe in? What do I stand for? I think a lot of people really started to turn off mainstream media and tune into their own inner voice. And it's kind of funny because when we do that, that inner voice takes courage to follow. We'll get those little messages of, just go out and, you don't like your job. You haven't liked it for 20 years, why you keep doing it? Maybe there's something better for you. And then find the courage to go do it. We hear those little voices in our heads all the time, but more people are paying attention to them now than ever before. And for some, it's scary. It just is. It's just like, whoa, walking into the unknown, not knowing how life is going to be the next day, the next day, the next day, can be very dissettling for people. But there's good news. When you have a book like mine is a guide for you, you start to realize that it's not just you going through this, but it is personal to you. So it's personal to you to be able to uplift your soul, uplift your spirit, be able to become that, quote, best version of yourself, which we can get into a little later, what that really means. But it is a time for change. It is a time to let go of some of the dysfunctional ways of showing up in the world, maybe some addictions that maybe you've had or loved ones have, and you see it real clearly, or maybe it's just a time to step into your power and stop playing small and play in greater ways. Go get those dreams that you really want to have, and realize that it's all possible if you do find the right mentors. You follow that inner voice, you slow down to succeed, and you take daily steps towards those dreams. That's what I've learned over the last several decades that I've been doing this work. And that's what I teach my clients to do. So many of them come to me, Marianne, and they're just frantic. They're going from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And they have all these ideas because they're playing on the creative field of life. But if we don't learn to slow down, to go within, to quiet and still our minds, to be able to focus exactly on what our dreams that we want, then what happens is we get a scattered life and things don't work so well.
So with knowing that, I know you work with so many people. You've got this great radio show that I love, Voices of Courage. What's the number one thing that you see that keep people back from realizing their dreams?
The number one thing that I see is courage. Courage is an energy. If we lack courage, we're lacking energy, a form of energy. Think about fear. Fear has a feeling to it. When you're fearful, you can feel it in your body. It kind of shuts you down. Your mind kind of goes numb or goes dumb. You slow down, right? You don't want to do anything. You're worried. You're concerned. You're fearful. You're in that space. Courage also has a feeling. And the feeling of courage is expansive. It's powerful. It's passionate. It's that energy that flows through us in ways that help us to overcome the challenges that we have in our life. Courage and willpower go hand in hand. With an undeveloped will, there's procrastination, there's lack of focus, there's lack of direction, there's lack of accomplishment. With a developed will combined with courage, there's the opposite of all of that. So you're focused, you're passionate, you're on purpose, you're moving in the directions of your dreams on a consistent basis, no matter what's going on. And listen, it's easy to talk about these things, but it's something else to really do it. So let me give you this advice with courage. To develop your courage, go out and do one thing that you've never done before every day. Just one thing. Because what'll happen is it'll most likely take courage to step into that. You'll be stepping into the unknown. You won't know maybe how to do it, and that's a good thing. I wrote a book, by the way. My first book was called Ask and You Will Succeed. It came out in 2003. It had 1,001 ordinary questions to create extraordinary success. And in that book, there wasn't one how question. They're all what, why, when. And the reason I did that is because a lot of times when we ask our mind, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do this? How is this going to happen for me? We get a either no answer or we get a negative answer. So instead of asking hows, because, when you walk into the unknown, it's not about how, it's about what's your next step. So the question I have my clients ask are, if you were courageous, what's the next step that you would take? If I was courageous, what's the next step I'll take? If I was courageous, what would I do today? If I was courageous, how would my life be different? If you slow down, you just take a moment, even right now, to write out those questions and start answering them on a daily basis. You will find, if you set your intention to do something new every single day you've never done, you'll find that your courage increases. And what happens? What's the ultimate goal or aim for this, or intention for this? It's being unstoppable. When you have courage, you have willpower, you have the power of the mind, focused mind, you become unstoppable. You realize that whatever comes in your life is there to support your growth, to support you to be a better version of yourself. And what's the result of that? The result of that is you will grow your dreams. Your dreams will get much bigger because you realize that you're unstoppable in growing bigger dreams. Let me give you an example. When I started in media, I started in radio. And I was taught in radio. I was here at a local station, KCBQ in San Diego. And when I came into the show, I walked into the unknown. I had never been on radio. I had no idea how to develop a show or what to say on radio. I knew how to do an interview. And I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. But what I knew for sure was that I was unstoppable. And I knew that if I stepped into that experience, that the people, the places, the resources, everything I need to take it to the level that I wanted would show up. And of course it did. And when I was in the radio show, I thought to myself, well, I think I want this to be a podcast. So then what I did is I didn't know how to do that, but I knew a lot of people knew how to do podcasts at the time. So I put together a group of, I think it was 6 of us. We all met for every other week for several months. And we each shared our resources and our talent and our abilities and everything else we had to help each one create their podcast and take the podcast to a wonderful level. And then I did the same thing with TV. And now I'm doing a TV show, all right, a large show on a network. So all of this happened as a result of what I said in the beginning, starting with just doing one thing that I've never done before every day. By the way, I pretty much practice that every day today too, Marianne.
Well, I think that's encouraging for people to hear, because it's not something that, you get to a point like, oh, I've arrived, I'm done, I'm all courageous now.
Right. Yeah. That's all made up. We're here as life is an experience, right? And we're going through that experience. And here's what I've come to understand. To really have a great life, we need to know 3 things. We need to know who we are, how we serve, and what we stand for. So who we are, what we stand for, and how we serve. I got that from a guy by the name of Paul Selig. And I heard that and I went, that is just right on. Because if we don't know who we are, I'm not talking about what we do. I'm not talking about, what you own or what you've accomplished. I'm talking about the core essence of who you are. I'm talking about that unstoppable, powerful, passionate peace that lies within all of us, the God self. If you don't know that about yourself, then you're living your life from the outside in. So your experience is what other people say or don't say will impact your life. What other people's house looks like or doesn't look like will impact you. Whatever somebody you see somebody in a relationship and you're not in it. Wow, that's going to impact you because you're living from the outside. As soon as I flipped that in my life, I started living from the inside out and starting asking every day. I have a practice, by the way, I'll give to you. Every day I practice introspection into me, right? I want to introspect. And I ask 3 questions. What worked today? What didn't work today? And what can I improve upon tomorrow? Every day. That helped me to get to that place of who am I? Who am I really? And it also helped me get to the place of what do I stand for? I think a lot of us got to that place, Marianne. At least I know the COVID, the shutdown, everything. That really helped me to even tune in more as to what I really stand for. What are our values? What do we care about the most? What's going to, if we're not living those values, what I find in my own life, it's painful, right? You have a value of creating wealth, but you're poor. That's a challenge. You feel it, and it'll probably drive you too. If you have a value of health, and yet you're 50 pounds overweight, that's painful. So we have to not only know what we stand for, we have to live those values. And listen, I'm not some preacher here telling you what to do or what not to do. I'm just telling you the principles that work, not only in my life, but in everybody's life. So know who you stand for, know what you're about, and then know where you serve, right? I'm just grateful to be able to speak today on this podcast with Marianne. This is how I serve. I put myself out there and I'm vulnerable and I, speak my truth of what I've learned. And I pray that it benefits and uplifts those whose minds are open to receive something new.
Well, you can't get any better than that. My goodness, and it takes a lot of courage, as you were saying, to really dive in and look at, gosh, where did I do well today? And where did I not really do well? Where did I kind of fail? And look at how we can restructure that and play it in a different way and learn from it.
Yes. And, who wants to look at their defaults? Not most of us. But if we don't look at them, and when I look at mine and the way I encourage my clients, I have an exercise that I give them when they first start working with me. And I tell them, first thing, do this exercise and be dispassionate about it. Don't personalize it to yourself. Look at it. And the same thing with the introspection exercise. Look at it from a place of an observer. I'm just looking at this life, this dream life that I've created. What's working, what's not, and what can I do to improve it consistently? Without passion and making yourself wrong or blame or shame or guilt. None of those emotions are actually even healthy for you to move forward and develop your dreams. They may be healthy for you to feel for the moment so that you understand what's driving that and you can heal it or move through it. So I'm not telling you, no, don't feel your feelings, because you do need to feel those. But what I'm saying is feel them and then notice what's behind it, and then be able to release it within 90 seconds. There's a lot of research around feelings and emotions by the social scientists that tell us that feelings move through our body in about 90 seconds. What's left is usually our mind, right? Thinking about what happened in the past. Gosh, this person showed up and did this before. I'm always this way, or so we're using the mind. Actually, if you do that in a proper way, you're regenerating whatever happened in the past again and again and again. But you can break that pattern really quickly, actually, by being conscious of what you are focusing on a consistent basis, what you're putting in your mind. Words matter, right? Words matter. The words we speak matter, and also the words that we allow to come through our consciousness matter. We're all sharing one database. We are, believe it or not. Most people want to personalize that database. So think of it this way. If there's a fella in China that's feeling depressed or anxious or down and out, I can almost guarantee he'll be tuning in the same thoughts that that person in the United States is thinking. Or if they're in Australia, or maybe you're out in the Amazon forest, you'll be thinking the same thoughts, right? You're tuning into the same database. So it's really important to realize that we share the same, thought is not individual, thought is universal. So if you realize that and you say, well, what thoughts do I want to tune into? Good question. Really good question. That's why I think goals and intentions are so important, because when you set a goal and you set your intention, I'm going to accomplish whatever this is in my life. I'm going to do this. And you set that intention, and you're setting it not only in your mind, you're setting that in this database that we share. And so many times, everything that's kind of unlike that intention seems to start to show up, and you seem to be blocked. Oh my gosh, I set my intention to make an extra $2,000 this month. And you know what? I've got 3 bills now that have to pay that weren't even there before. And things show up, right? Stuff happens. What happens for most people is they stop, or they forget their goal, their intention. And so they go back to the same old pattern. But those that are a little wiser with their mindset, they say, okay, I notice this is coming up. I don't really care. It's coming up for my benefit, and I'm going to accomplish that goal no matter what. We start tuning into that, and we hold that intention with strong will. What happens is it's almost magical. It really is. The people, the places, the resources that we need to generate that success start showing up in our lives consistently. Call it the law of attraction, call it cause and effect, call it whatever you want. It works. And it works, and it works consistently. The only time it doesn't work is that you set your intention. This is going to happen. And then you start going in and personalizing it with negative thoughts. This is probably never going to happen. You come in with doubt and uncertainty. You come in with feelings that this could never happen for me. Some of that stuff. You'll just stop your manifestation process like dead on. Now, you can get right back on the track and do it again. You can start again, say, all right, I'm going to do better this time. I'm going to hold this in my consciousness. This is going to happen for me. Maybe I'll get a coach like Ken, or maybe I'll get a success accountability partner, somebody that'll hold me accountable consistently. Or maybe I'll join one of Ken's groups, his Limitless Experience group, and maybe that'll support me. If you can't hold it on your own, get support. That's what we all need. I'll say one other thing, Marianne. The last 10 years was 10 years of expression. People got on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and everybody's expressing, right? Expressing some good stuff and also expressing some things we could do without. But they're expressing. This next decade is different. This next decade is about collaboration. We are, just like Marianne and I are collaborating right now. We're coming together to collaborate with one another, to uplift each other. And if that's your mindset, you say, I don't know how to collaborate. That's okay. That's part of courage. That's part of stepping into the unknown. But set your intention that you're going to start collaborating with people in your business to take your business to the next level, maybe in your relationships to take your relationships to the next level, maybe in your health, whatever it is. Find people that'll collaborate with you. This is not about isolating yourself and setting intention or expressing yourself to the world about what it is about you. This is about collaborating deeply with one another to uplift each other. Hope that makes sense to some people that are listening to this.
Oh, I'm sure it does. And, if you look at it as well, you talk about, having courage. It's interesting when people get into these negative mindsets, it's really, a fearful place. So kind of reminding yourself to have this courage, I think that's so important.
Well, that's why I wrote the book. I'll bring it back to that. The courage to change everything. Daily Strategies and Essential Wisdom to Awaken Your Inner Genius. I wrote that as a reminder every day. I think we all need, we don't need reminders or inspiration or encouragement here and there. We need it every day. And some of us need it 4, 5, 10 times a day, right? We just do. So that book will help you. If you're listening to this, it'll help you to be able to remind yourself of your own inner power, your own inner strength, your own courage, your own passion that's in there. And I told you I'd talk about being our best version of ourselves earlier in this podcast. And I want to just mention this. What is in there is brilliance, is genius, is power, is glory, is everything. Everybody is born with that. We all have it. I believe we're all born genius. What happens though is I call it like a rust over the soul. Okay. Soul being just beautiful, brilliant genius. That rust, what is that rust? That rust is our guilt, our shame, our remorse, our resentments, our past experiences that weren't so great, the trauma, the drama, the losses, all of that clouds the soul. So what we need to do is we need to release that so that the brilliance can shine forth again. So anybody that's listening to this podcast, if you go to my website, kendfoster.com, Ken D as in Donald, kendfoster.com, and you scroll down on my page there on the homepage, I'm giving you my release process. It's been developed over 20 years. And this process will help you to take off that rust around your soul. The process is, people tell me it's like once they go through it, it'll take you about 3-4 hours to go through it. And what you're going to do, it's really simple. You're going to inventory some of these past experiences. You're going to acknowledge it, and you're going to find the courage to change it. And it's a spiritual exercise. You don't have to be spiritual, but I encourage those of you that know how to tap into the soul to do it. And what'll happen is people tell me it's like taking off a dark pair of sunglasses that they never knew they had on when they complete this exercise. And the reason for that is because all of a sudden you can see the unseeable, know the unknowable, and do the impossible. I don't say that lightly. See the unseeable. You'll be able to see things you haven't been able to see before because you're not holding on to this cloud over your soul. You'll be able to know things that you've not known about yourself, about how the universe works. You'll be getting messages through that old block won't be there anymore. And you'll be able to do things you've not been able to do before. So it's a great exercise. It doesn't cost you anything. If you want to get it again, you can go to kendfoster.com. And also, if you'd like to get my book, you can find that at couragetochange.us, couragetochange.us. When you purchase that book, you also get, right now at least, you get 2 of my classes. It's called The Limitless Experience. It's with me. It's a group class, and I help you to give you a quick start on the book. And we take a deeper dive that we don't have time today to go into some of the principles that will really shift your life in ways that will, I guess you're going to show up a different way. More power, more passion, more love, more joy, more happiness. Things that we really are made of, but we forget how to tap into it sometimes.
So I know that you talk about self-awareness in your book. How does that have a role to play in courage?
Well, that self-awareness piece it's everything. I remember when I was in college at San Diego State, and a sociology professor, name was Dr. Preston. And he had us read a book called, it was written by Carlos Castaneda. And it was about the sorcerer, Don Juan anyway. I'm just memorizing. I'm just thinking this now. This is an old memory coming up. And what he talked about, what Don Juan talked about, is he was a very wise man, and he talked about the walking dead, those that are walking around with, as I would define it, no self-awareness. They're the individuals that come on the planet and they basically remain about the same from the time they are born till the time they die. And if you were to be able to look back at their lives, when they do, they realize they hadn't made much change. They hadn't developed that insight, that inner vision, that is painful to develop, I would say, for most. In other words, you got to feel the pain to make the change. What's the pain? The pain is changing some of the habits maybe that you've got going. The pain is letting go of maybe some of the relationships that aren't working, or maybe a job, or maybe letting go of some of the habits that you have of how you show up in the world, from what time you wake up to how you brush your teeth, to how you floss, to what you eat, put in your body, what you put in your mind. That for a lot of people is very painful. And we're set in our ways we have the biggest addiction in the world, in my estimate. This addiction is bigger than all the drug and alcohol and everything. It's the addiction to being right. Addiction to being right. So if you have that addiction, then you're right about everything in your life. But that doesn't mean that you're living a fulfilled life, or a life that you can look back from the rocking chair and go, wow, you know what? I overcame some of the greatest challenges that a person could overcome. And I grew, and I learned, and I became wise, and I became more compassionate and more loving and more filled with joy and happiness. So if you're one of the walking dead, it's time to wake up, because that's what's happening here. Things are shaking up. And a lot of times, this is how I've learned it was designed. It was designed this way for me. If you don't pay attention, you get a little tap on the shoulder. If you don't pay attention to that, you get a little harder tap. You don't pay attention to that, you get a 2x4 hitting you over the head, right? That may be an accident. That may be something that's life-threatening, life-changing, right? Bam, now you got to wake up. I always prayed, and I was always grateful I didn't have to have a near-death experience to wake up. So you don't want to have that. You want to be able to wake up and do the work that you need to do to become the best version of yourself, right? Now, I'm not trying to throw a bunch of fear out there, because that's not what I'm about. I'm about courage. And I'm trying to just say, listen, if there's something going on in your life that you're feeling that right now, what is that? What's the one thing that you want to change that's been nagging you for a long time? You haven't figured out how to change that. Today's the day. Today's the day to go buy my book. Today's the day to go get the release exercise. Today's the day to be able to step up and say, you know what, maybe I'm gonna do a session with Ken. By the way, you go to my website there, kendfoster.com. You can also get a free session with me. So do you have the courage to do it? Well, if you don't, then you got to find it, whether it's with me or whether it's with Marianne or whether it's with someone else. Find somebody that can support you so that you no longer are what we call the walking dead.
So did you have a personal experience in business or life that really changed you?
Oh, many, many of them. But I think the one that really impacted me the most, that really shifted it completely for me, was in 1992. And I was in therapy for a year. And this beautiful psychologist, I wish I knew his name. I don't remember his name. But I was in Sacramento, California, and he was my therapist. And I was hearing this little voice. And I walked into his office that day. And like I said, I've been with him for a year. And I said, "Doctor, I'm hearing this voice, and it's so loud. I've written it down on the sticky notes." And I said, "I want to know what you think it is." And he said, "Well, what are you hearing, Ken?" I said, "Well, I'm hearing this voice that says you've got to feel the pain to make the change." And he looked at me with his steel blue eyes and his silver hair, and he said, "Ken, I can't do anything more for you. You have to follow that voice." And as I walked out of his office thinking, what is he talking about? I'm coming to him because I'm hearing this voice. I got voices in my head and he's telling me to follow it. Does he just want to get rid of me, or is there something here? Well, I thought, okay, he knows best. I trust him. What is that voice? I started asking that. And that was the voice of courage. And that was the voice that led me a day or two later into a recovery program. I made a phone call. I said, I need to get clean here. And I did, 1992. So that changed everything for me. And it'll change everything for you. So if there's something in your life right now that you're feeling you've been avoiding, and you need to feel it, you need to walk into it. Maybe it's an addiction, maybe it's just a poor relationship, poor job, maybe it's a way that you're showing up. You're going to have to feel the pain to make the change. And if you do that, your life will get better and better.
Oh my goodness, what a story, and congratulations. I mean, making that type of a change, those are some pretty dramatic changes.
Well, everything changed, and listen, I had the courage to do one thing, make a phone call. That's all. I just took courage to make that one phone call. And then I believe, again, when we move forward in the direction of our transformation, in this case, Providence moves with us. The people, the places, the things, everything showed up as I made the commitment to change my life. So whether this is in business or whether this is in your personal life, it's kind of deep stuff we're talking about here. If you are really serious, you really say, enough is enough. I've had enough of what I'm doing. I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to change it up, and I'm going to change it up today. If that's you, then kudos to you. Whatever that is for you, tune into your inner voice. Listen to your inner voice. And you have a lot of other voices out there saying, don't do this, right? But you've listened to those voices for a long time. So stop listening to that voice just for a moment. Listen to that voice of truth. And if you do, like I did, your whole life will get incredibly better. Now, it didn't happen overnight. I had to work at it. I had to do a lot of self-reflection and the inner work to be able to have that incredible life that I have today. But it's worth it. It's so worth it. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine had I not had that counselor, had he not shared his truth with me. I mean, think about that counselor, Marianne. He could have just kept taking money from me, right? He could have done anything.
Oh, yeah. He could have done a lot of things.
He could have, right?
Like, oh, you're hearing voices. Let's go ahead and write a prescription for that,
Let's write a prescription. Let's lock you up. You're hearing voices. Yeah, a lot of people are psychotic. They're hearing voices. Yeah, but he did. He tuned in, and he was a gift. So we all have those people in our lives. If we're willing to reach out, if we're willing to take the courageous actions today, and it's kind of funny, I shared that story, with a fella, I don't know, maybe 3 years after it happened for me. And next thing I know, he went and he got recovery. And then I shared it with another one and they got recovery. We just share our truth, right?
Wow. And obviously that counselor can tell that the voices you were hearing was your deep inner voice that was guiding you.
Yeah, he was wise. I mean, obviously, if it was a psychotic break, which, well, I guess, I had already had the psychotic break with reality when I look back. I was not seeing reality clearly back then at all. But whether we see reality clearly or not, we all have that inner voice speaking to us. It may be covered up. We may need others to help us to decipher it, but it's still there.
Yeah, it's still with us. Well, my goodness, you've got so many great topics that you hit in the book. What is one that you have people usually talk to you about and say, gosh, this really changed the game for me?
Well, that's a great question. I would say the topic that changes the game for most people is meditation, is realizing that they're not their thoughts, they have thoughts. And when they can, a lot of times people come to me and they can't really sit for more than 10 minutes. They've tried meditation, they've tried stilling their mind. They've had no success mastering the mind. The mind is mastering them, right? And so I like to help people to be able to realize, first of all, as with anything, if what you're doing isn't working, it's not about necessarily you. It's about either you have the wrong strategy, you have the wrong teacher, maybe you have the wrong technique, in this case, in meditation. And there's hope. But anything we change is a quest. We have to get on a quest. It's not like it's going to change instantly. It might, but most of the time, at least this has been my experience, and experience most of my clients, is that it's over time. So if you have something to heal, it may heal instantly, or it may take you to go on a quest to find out everything you possibly can about healing whatever that is you need to heal. So meditation, when I had been meditating for about 6 years, and I found a technique, I found a teacher that within 3 months, I was able to meditate not 10 minutes, I was able to go 8 hours with the right environment, with the right technique, with the right understanding. Same things happen to me time and time again. I can think of that even on a ski slope. I was skiing for many years, and a fella gave me a technique. All of a sudden, my skiing increased by 20, 30%. I was 20, 30% better that day. Okay. So again, the point is, meditation is the key. And if you would like to find out more about meditation, I encourage you to get on my email list and or buy my book, and you'll be on my email list, and we'll send you out some information on it.
Well, I know also in your book, you talk about integrity, and there seems to be, I kind of hear people saying, gosh, we got a lot of situations where people may not be acting within all of their integrity. So how can we show up more in our own integrity as we work towards our goals?
Well, listen, we're all human. We're doing life, and nobody's doing this perfect. So one of the things when you're stepping up and increasing your integrity, you want to allow yourself not to judge yourself as, oh my gosh, I committed to walking 3 times this week, and I only walked 2 times. Now I'm out of integrity with myself. Oh, I'm feeling, I don't think I'll even do this anymore. That happens for a lot of people. They don't want to be out of integrity, so they stop their goals. So to increase your integrity, it's about persistence. So pick what it is that you would like to change. All right. Set your intention, set your goal. Then ask yourself, one question. What am I willing to give or give up to attain that goal or intention? Okay. And maybe it's, thought about you're not good enough or you're not enough. Maybe it's you're going to have to give up. I don't know, if you got a health goal, maybe you have to give up eating ice cream or eating grains or something. You're like, I would never do that. But just try it. Okay. Now, if you're not in integrity with yourself, then of course you need to be persistent and get yourself to the point where you are. And here's why it's so important. Tell you a quick story. A friend of mine who's passed since, his name is Brian Clemmer. Brian was a West Point graduate. Him and I were speaking on stage with a lady by the name of Laura Langmeyer. And Brian was kind enough to do an interview with me. And as we were interviewing, this subject of integrity came up. And he said, let me tell you a story, Ken, about integrity. He said, a friend of mine asked me to speak for free at his event. And he gave me the date and time. And he said, I will speak at your event for free. A week later, a organization came to him and said, we'll pay you $25,000 to speak on that day and time. Now, he could have gone back to his friend and said, no, I can't speak. I've got an opportunity to make money. And he could have said, let's change the date or what. But Brian said this. He said, listen, Ken, I had given my word. I had given my word not only to him, he says, but I give my word to myself. And he said, so if I were to break that commitment to myself or to my friend, the next time I went to manifest something, to generate something in my life, I would have doubt and uncertainty. And whether it's at a conscious level or a subconscious level, I would not be playing with a full deck, with a full commitment, with a full mind that's on fire with my integrity. He said, therefore, I, of course, went and spoke with my friends at my friend's event for free. So that's high integrity. And that's what we all strive for.
Well, that makes such a difference because, you're right. At the end of our days, we look back going, gosh, did I act the way I really, truly felt that resonated with my soul? And I'm pretty sure most of us want to say yes.
We want to say yes. And listen, if we get off track, that's okay. What do? We get back on and we don't give up. And we get out of this place of, so many people stop when they feel a sense of hopelessness. It's hopeless. It's never hopeless. It's always there. Whatever's coming up for you in your life, and I've said it 3 or 4 times now, it's there for you. It's not there to be against you. It's there to help you to take your life to the next level. Sometimes you're in a place where you really need to stop doing a behavior. Sometimes it's a place where you have to let go of those relationships that you're in. So sometimes it's just about how you're using your mind. It's different for everybody, which is why I recommend you get a master coach like myself, or someone that can, a therapist or someone that can really help you to understand how you're using your mind and be able to help you to shift that in a way that supports your growth.
Oh my goodness, Ken. I mean, we could talk for hours. I feel like you're just such an inspiration and bring so much light to the world. Again, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Thank you so much. Well, they can connect with me at kendfoster.com. kendfoster.com. That's probably the best place to connect with me. I'm also on Clubhouse these days, and so you can look for my room, Voices of Courage. You can also listen to my show, which is now syndicated in 170 countries, 240 stations, 14 networks. It's called Voices of Courage. It's simple to remember. Just tell Alexa, Cortana, or Siri to play Voices of Courage podcast. It'll come right up for you. And, or just Google me. I'm on the internet.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
You know what? This is an awesome show. Great interview. I just really enjoyed this show. Thank you so much, Marianne. And, I'm here to support whatever you do too. This has been brilliant.
Well, my goodness, Ken, you are one of the great inspirations that I love listening to. I love your show, and I highly suggest everyone check out Voices of Courage. Also, go to Ken's website, kendfoster.com, for more information. His book, The Courage to Change Everything, is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember to support our indie bookstores. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.